Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Today is a special episode because it's the first of our spotlight on our dental nurses, so we can hear their voices and their journey into dental nursing. So today I'm super excited that our first guest here today is my colleague, Roxi.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I started dental nursing in May 21, so almost 4 years now, which is crazy. And I qualified in September 23, so a year and a half I've been qualified for, which doesn't feel like it is, just flown by, really.
It has gone quick.
Yeah.
It has gone quick. So when did you decide you first wanted to be a dental nurse? Where were you? What were you doing?
So I was working in an office job, and it wasn't a very nice job. It just wasn't for me, which is fine because some jobs aren't. And I was looking on Indeed every day for things to come up, and then see if I can apply for stuff. And then this job came up, and I was like, "Oh, a dental nurse, okay." Well, I applied for it because I just didn't think anything else of it. And then they contacted me asking for an interview, and I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, that's fine, I'll do that." And then obviously I had to get ready for the interview, and I thought, well, I don't even know what a dental nurse does.
How did you prep? What did you do?
I just searched up like roles of a dental nurse on Google, and it was obviously assisting the clinicians and patient care, decontamination, and all these things was coming up. And I was like, oh, it's actually quite a lot. It's not just sitting there with suction, it's actually quite a lot they have to do. So I just started to go for it, and then obviously I got it. That's 4 years ago.
She did. So how did the interview go?
My first interview, it was more of a chat, it was called, and it was just quite nice and chill. It wasn't too formal, which is a little bit better in them circumstances. And I remember one of the dentists was there, Sarah, and she asked, the only question she asked was what I was watching at the moment. And my only answer was like, I can't remember what it was, but it was like a crime series. And she was like, oh, you like gory stuff then, so you'll be okay.
Love.
So I was like, yeah, I guess so. So that was my first interview. Then they asked me back for the second one. I can't remember what they said there, but obviously went well.
It did. And we got you.
Yeah.
So you got the job.
Mm-hmm.
You come along to work with us.
Yeah.
How did your training start? How was it for you?
It was really weird actually, because we was still in like the COVID sort of times. So a lot of my first few weeks were running. So I'd have to get the patient from the car park, so they couldn't come into the building, had to check it was that patient that we needed, check them in on our system, and then bring them up to the surgery. And then people in like the nurses and the dentists in the surgery would call me when they was done. Then I'd have to go and collect them. So it was a lot of just running around in the summer. So it was so hot. So it's just with gowns and PPE, it was just awful. So I've done a lot of that. And then I slowly, after that role sort of disappeared, that's when I probably started getting into the surgery. And I was working with one dentist mostly at the start. And then I'd swap between hygienists and then decon just to get the sort of basics.
Did you get that buzz about dental nursing straight away? Like this was definitely something that you wanted to go with?
Yeah.
I know we definitely felt it from you, definitely. So you did the training with us.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go next with regards to your actual training to qualify to be a dental nurse?
So I went to college. It was a 2-year course. No, actually just under 2 years. It's just under 2 years. And that was 1 day a month, which isn't actually, it doesn't sound, it's not a lot, to be honest. But it was quite full on, like you had a lot of stuff to do. So if you had, let's say 1 month, you had your lesson, then you'd have a whole month then to do all of your coursework and all of your homework sort of thing. So it was quite good in that way, because you had loads of time to prepare then for the next lesson.
How did you find fitting coursework, college in with actually working for full time, essentially?
It was hard, especially, I mean, we're quite lucky here because I did get given study time, and it's meant to be like 20% of your working week, which I did have. So we was very lucky. So it was like pretty much every week I would get a session or even sometimes a whole day. just to do some coursework, and I could do that here. So I wouldn't get distracted at home, because at home, like, you can go on your phone, you can watch TV, and it's just, it didn't really get done. But here, it was so much easier to do that. But then if I didn't get given that time, if we were short-staffed, if another nurse or receptionist was on holiday and I had to cover, it was really hard to get the balance, especially working 2 long days and then the other, like, normal days. And then just balancing life as well. So I don't
What advice would you give any trainee dental nurses out there now that are struggling to get that time in if they can't get in at work? What would you suggest? What works for you?
Little bits every day, even if it's 10 minutes. I struggled with, like, the whole, oh yeah, but if I want to do this, I have to have a whole hour to do that. You don't have to do one whole segment in just one day. You can just space it out. And even if it's during your lunch, sometimes, like, at tea break, I'd go through loads of stuff on my phone. I'd have apps like Quizlet, and I could have flashcards on my phone.
We got the skull out for you.
Yes, got the skull, Fred the head. I had him, so I could just go through stuff, just try and utilise the time and just do little bits every day, because otherwise you'll just cram it in towards the end and it's just a nightmare doing
I think it's important to have that supportive team around you. I know some nurses obviously aren't that lucky to have that, but if you encourage if you are nurses, to encourage anybody that is around you to get involved in your training at lunch times, or end of the day, beginning of the morning, just to help you in that way. The more the staff are involved with the training, I think that a lot easier it can be. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, definitely.
So how did the way your course went, how did it work for you? So you had a tutor, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a tutor. Because it was during COVID, most of my training, it was sort of hard to not have a lot of my lessons in person. A lot of it was online, which does work for some people, and it has its place, don't get me wrong, especially if, like, you can't get to college or whatever. It's really good to have something like that. But for nearly every lesson to be online, it just didn't feel like he was focusing as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just better to do it in person, because you're actually in a classroom and you miss the social aspect of it as well. Because some girls in my class, like, I wouldn't see them for months, and then I'd see them again and I'm like, I don't know who you lot are, I don't know your names, I've forgotten.
It makes that journey not as enjoyable maybe as it could have been.
Yeah, and I couldn't really, towards the end we all started messaging each other because we was quite scared. But it was hard during the whole training to message them, like, if you're at school and you don't have homework, you message your friend.
You have to find out what's going on.
Do that? Because I didn't know them. Like, it was weird to be like, oh, hi, who are you? I don't know them. But yeah, no, it was okay.
How did you find the whole assessment process? How was it for you? What did it involve?
So I had to get signed off for a lot of things, but that wasn't necessarily my tutor coming in and watching me. It could be like you watching me do stuff. Because of COVID, we couldn't have my tutor coming in for everything she needed to see, because then that was more visits, and it was obviously, like, putting her at risk then, because we're still doing AGPs for, like, half of my training. So I had to get signed off on a lot of stuff, which I found quite lucky, to be honest, because then I'd have someone like Cheryl watching me do it, and it just took a lot of the pressure off. Because when my tutor did come in to assess me, I just wasn't used to it, whereas some nurses in the previous years were used to it because they had that all the time, whereas I wasn't very used to it, so it was a bit daunting. So we had a lot of that. Obviously, all my coursework I had to do as well, and at the end of every module there was coursework you had to do. So, for example, like anatomy, we had to do coursework on that, which was very long-winded, a lot of that.
It's a lot, isn't it? There's a lot more now than there used to be.
It's a lot, and sometimes you just think, well, why am I learning this? Because I'm never going to use this again. But it is good to have that knowledge, just because it makes your job easier.
What was your revising technique? What worked for you? Because obviously it's different for everybody. What worked for you?
Flashcards.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, the amount that I got through. Yeah, just list flashcards. So I feel like if you're writing stuff down, like in a notebook or something, like how a lot of people learn, it just doesn't sink in. Or if I read the same things over and over again,
everyone
just
does
doesn't sink in.
learn different.
And
don't they?
mock exams as well. But I really struggled to get mock exams.
Really?
Really struggled. My tutor didn't really have access to any, and if she did, it was only a couple. So by the time I'd done them, I could do them again. And then there was nothing online.
Okay.
So that was like a really, I just really struggled with that because I couldn't find anything. I mean, you might be able to now, things might have changed in 2 years, but yeah, it's just, that was quite hard because I just wanted to get used to doing an exam. And because every exam's like, I don't know if it's the same now, but when Amy done her training, she had 4 exams.
Right.
For different parts. So it was like one big exam, but they were just split into 4, whereas I only had 1. So it's like different training providers do different exams. So I just,
it's a lot different now. I think there's different avenues you can go down to get into the dental nursing role, whether it be on apprenticeship or through your dental practice and trained, and then a course through the NEBDN possibly. So everyone is now trained differently, whereas before it was very set. I know when I did it many moons ago, it was a lot different. Was it what you expected it was going to be like? Was there at any point you thought, oh my goodness, I don't think I can do it, or this is not what I thought?
I think, especially now, dental nursing is glamorized. It's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, following things I'm going to say are true, but it's like, we can help people smile, we can, do this, we can make people confident and help their oral health and stuff like that, which obviously, yes, we can do, but there's also other bits we have to do. Like, for example, cleaning all the time. And there was just little bits.
That's our life now.
That is our life. There was just little bits where I was like, I didn't know we had to do this. And I feel like even now I see stuff on TikTok, especially TikTok. I see loads of dental nurses on TikTok where it's like, I love my job so much. I can do this, I can do that. And I feel like they're never really honest and real. So then you have loads of younger girls or people who just want a different profession or, want to be a dental nurse and they expect that. And that's not what it is.
You do see that a lot. I think I've seen nurses over the years come and go with this illusion that it is going to be all glamorous to what they may have seen, with social media now, which is huge and does glamorize aspects of it, but they don't actually see the more important side of it and the reason why we do these things. And a lot of dropout because of that. You're not even making it to the apprenticeship schemes just because that first few weeks they're like, nah, this is not for me, which is good because if you're not that way inclined, then dental nursing is a passion. If you haven't got that passion within 2 to 3 weeks. Otherwise, that job's not for you. But there's something that it does just click in that. This is gonna be my career from now on. I know that's what it felt like for me. What was the biggest challenge do you feel in your training? That advice for any potentially new dental nurses out there.
It was just about like the work and life balance. Because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a really hard exam and you need to know your stuff to pass. I think the pass mark was 42 out of 50 when I done my exam, which it's like 80%, just over 80%. So it is quite high. There's no leeway or something. You have to get 41 or over. So if you get 40, you're just like, okay. It might even be 42. I'm not too sure. It was something around there. You need to know your stuff. And I struggled with that, with working full time. Then I'd have to go home and then do my revision and then coursework and whatever else.
But you smashed it.
Yeah, I did.
You were 100%.
Yeah.
So how did you feel did you get an email to tell you? Was it a letter?
I got an email. Well, I actually had to email to get the email.
Okay.
So I was like,
right.
have I qualified or not? I'd like to know. And then they emailed me back and they was like, yes, you have. And then I actually got an email from my tutor saying I knew that you would. And then that made me feel
we knew you would.
I was just like, So that made me feel I was actually getting in my car to go home and then I just thought I'd check my emails because I'd emailed them that morning. And as soon as I saw the email, I just came running back into work and I went to you. I was like, oh my God, I'm qualified.
Oh my God, I knew, and there was no doubt in my mind. I think I mean, as I said, I've seen lots of dental nurses come and go over my career, but when you get certain dental nurses that come through and starting out, and there's just something, you can't put your finger on it, but you just know that there's like this diamond that's there that we just need to buff up and it's going to be glorious. And I was wrong with you. Like, I was so pleased for you, honestly. I don't know what a struggle it was.
Yeah.
How difficult. Obviously, you went through COVID times, like a lot of, nurses at the time went through, and there was a huge dropout from that because it was hard. But to see you, like, well, not that we ever really saw your face to start with, did we?
No, it was all masks.
We were all in masks, but honestly, yeah, we were. There was no doubt. You absolutely smashed it.
Thank you.
How do you feel like being finally qualified? Like, what was that feeling like? What did it mean for you?
When I first qualified, it was a little bit like, oh, okay, I'm on my own now. Like, it's just pretty much down to me. I'll have my own, like, yeah, exactly. I'll have my own GDC register thing. So it's a little bit daunting. And it was just weird to have all this time back to myself. I could go home and just relax. Stuff like this. I should be doing something. I don't know. So that was really nice. And in the surgery as well, it just made my confidence just go up. So I was like, well, if I can do that exam and I can do all my observations and everything else, then I can do anything. It just made me so much more confident in my job. I wasn't really asking other people questions because I'd always ask stuff but I knew the answer. I just needed someone who was qualified to clarify it to me because I felt like I couldn't make that decision. Does that make sense? So yeah,
brilliant. Yeah, you know, it was. I mean, honestly, we were so pleased. What would you say is the biggest difference from when you started working as a fully qualified dental nurse compared to being a trainee?
I would say
it's obviously more responsibility.
Yeah.
What sort of how did you feel like you were more responsible or?
Well, the biggest thing for me, like I said, I have all this free time, but it was more of the CPD and the PDP. I was just like, it was that when I first did qualify and trying to get my head around that was really challenging. I just didn't understand it.
How did you go about that? How did we help you with that?
Well, I asked my practice manager loads of times. I think she got sick of it towards the end, so I was like, I still don't understand. But she helped me. And then, if I ask you or if I ask any other of the nurses, one time Hannah, one of the other dental nurses here, she actually sat down with me and went through it all. And she was like, this is what you do and this is why. Yeah. And I think once I understood this is why, I was like, right, okay, I've got you now. Yeah. And we have all this, the Geo thing as well. I can just do it all online and then it's just all in one little segment together. So that makes it loads easier for us
actually here because it's something that we've introduced to the practice because obviously CPD is huge now for dental nurses, but it is a minefield of information that to get your head around, especially as you're newly qualified. But having something like a GEO or with the GDC itself, you can download lots of templates that you can use just to make sure that, because it's so important that you're getting the hours in, you're getting the correct amount of hours in, that they're all kind of verifiable. So it's huge. It is huge. And if anybody does need advice on that, I know the SVDN, if you are a member, we can give you lots of advice. There's lots of advice on our website too about that, because it is huge and it is a minefield of information. Did you feel fully prepared when you were finally qualified, or was there things that you felt you were still learning on the job? Do you think you were ready for us to let you go?
It's with normal dentistry and stuff I had been doing with certain clinicians. I was like, yeah, that's fine. I've cracked that now. I can do that. But with maybe specialists was a big, I don't know, it sort of knocked my confidence a little bit. So I was like, oh gosh, I really don't know what I'm doing here.
We did throw you. You want to say we? You were thrown. I was not involved in that. You were thrown into the deep end a little bit. Give us the best you can your experience of that.
So I was still a trainee at that time, and I was put in with an implant specialist, which is a whole other side of dentistry, which naive me just thought, oh, it's an implant, would be fine, because I had nursed for it previously, but that was whilst I was shadowed, and so I sort of had really good support around me for that. But yeah, I had to nurse for that, and it was also the admin side of it. A lot of that got chucked my way, even though obviously I was working with other clinicians full time and trying to study. I just didn't have the time to also be like a PA to a specialist as well, and I didn't have the knowledge, or that was really hard. Because to make my working life smoother, I had to do all of these things, like chase lab work, chase orders, and all of that, just to make sure I had it for that day that I was with the specialist.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. And I think I gave it a go for a while, and then I just got to the point where I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore.
And you spoke up, I think.
And I did.
It's always important to speak up, and it was addressed.
Yeah. Because as soon as I did that, the next week it was fine. It was like it never even happened. It just knocked my confidence, because I was like, oh, I can't do this. I can't work with this person because I don't know the knowledge behind it. But I think after I sort of tackled that, and I was like, no, this is a specialist thing. You have courses,
no reflection,
for dental nurses to go on for implants, and that's why they go on these courses, to work with these specialists. So yeah, it just knocked my confidence a bit. But
what advice would you give to any nurses that are in that sort of predicament where they do feel out of their comfort zone? What would you say for them to do?
Just say something, even if it's not to your manager or your boss, just to anyone. Like the amount of times I've come to Cheryl, even just about work, but personal life as well, just always make sure you speak up, because there will come a point where it will all be too much and you will just burn out. And that's exactly what happened to me. One day I was like, no, I can't do it. And then it just made it worse for me in the long run. Just always make sure to, if you're not comfortable or if you're not okay, just say.
If it's just somebody in your practice that you feel you could just go to, or it's so important, don't ever feel like you're on your own. Please don't ever feel like that. Even reach out to myself and socials for advice. Quite happy to do that, and again the SBDN. But don't ever feel like you're at your comfort zone. If you're doing something you just don't feel like you're ready for yet, always speak up. So what has been the most rewarding part of being a dental nurse for you so far?
I would probably say, it sounds really cliche, but the patients. When like a patient, obviously they always turn around and say, well, thank you, to the dentist or clinician. And then when they actually turn to you and say, well, thank you. Or when they know your name. I know it's so silly, but when a patient knows my name, I'm just like, oh yay, they know who I am. I'm not just some person that sits in the corner. So that's really rewarding. And I'd say just the people I have around me as well. Like not even just from here, but like dental nurses elsewhere, like kind of from my college course. I mean, I don't really speak to them now, but it was nice to have that. And after I qualified, another girl didn't, so then I was helping her with like how to qualify and stuff like that. So I'd say people around me, and just having a career as well, because it can take you anywhere. So it's nice just to, like, obviously I'm fine being a dental nurse, but if you was to go on to doing anything else, and that's quite rewarding as well, and the hard work does pay off. Might not feel like it at the time, but it does.
If there's one thing that you wish you knew before becoming a dental nurse that you know now that you would share, what would that be? Good, the bad, the ugly, the gross?
Hold your nose when opening a tooth pot. That's one thing that I did not know. What else? I feel like there's so much stuff I just can't pick.
I think the common ones have been the spittoon I think is a massive one that they don't tell you about until
No,
you're on the job.
no.
Um,
Yeah, that's a bit too.
but yeah,
It's weird though, because like blood and everything I'm okay with, but saliva,
yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just like, if it's on my glove, I'm like, I don't know, it's just, I find it like, ugh. But yeah, definitely the spittoon.
Have you had any? We've asked a few nurses this on the social level. Have you had any fun stories that have happened to you in surgery?
So, talking about the spittoon, I went to press the button in the Hyde room to just fill up some water in the cup. Luckily, there wasn't a patient in the room, but I went to press this button, and obviously it's a little spout, and the water comes out here to fill up the cup on the spittoon there. So I pressed the button to fill it up, and then it just shot up, like the actual, what did I call it? The spout just shot up. I was like, where did that go? And then I was like, oh, is it raining inside? And then loads of water was going everywhere. So yeah, that's probably the funniest one. And yeah, I think I was with Karina. So the hygienist, I know that. She was just like, what is going on? I was like, I don't know. So yeah, then I had to get David in to sort it for me.
I think we've all got that story, haven't we? I think I had a water work in that room.
Did you?
In that room, there was our 3-in-1 tip wasn't working. So
I remember this.
So I did turn there was no air coming through as far as I was concerned. There was no air coming through, and I unscrewed the 3-in-1 so that's what they were with patient in chair. So I take it off, and the pressure, it was like I was like Mr. Bean. There was this water just along over it. I had no control, and the only place I could put it was out the window over our senior dentist car. It was just water falling out the window, and the patient's just like in the chair. Yes, we're all good here. We're all good here. Luckily, he did see the front side of it. And his whole right hand side was soaking wet. But oh, goodness me. Good. I think we could write. We could do a whole podcast. I think on
definitely
crazy things that have happened to us. And what is the craziest thing you found in your tunic pocket?
Chewing gum.
Oh.
And then it gets washed. Not used chewing gum, not that I've had and just kept for later, but like a new chewing gum. I always put it in this little pocket here, just because it's like a good little pocket for it. And then maybe if I was to have it after lunch or something, so I go home and wash it, and then the next week I'll be like, oh, why is this sticky? And then it's just a squashed chewing gum. Yeah.
Gross. So Roxi, over your couple of years qualified, what's next for you? Tell us about what you're doing now, the future. Where do you see yourself?
So I'm doing my radiography at
Amazing.
the moment, and it's going really well. A lot of my portfolio is nearly complete, which is good because I'm in the surgery, so I can just get it all done, which I know some nurses struggle with because they're maybe not in the surgery so much, or they're part-time, so getting their portfolio done is quite hard, but I've been okay so far. And I don't know about other courses at the moment. I'm not too sure.
Not too sure.
No,
Not too sure where you're going yet. So you are a newly qualified dentist, and you're also a new member of the SVDM.
Yes.
And you did something really exciting a week ago.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So it was for the future of dentistry, and it was with the
DLM.
Yeah. I just know so much about it. And the Dental Leadership Network, that's right. And I had to sit on a panel. We had 2 panels in one day, so I was the afternoon panel, and it was just talking about my experience as a new dental professional, what can be done to sort of help new dental professionals, not just dental nurses, but dentists, hygienists, therapists. It was just really interesting to see a whole different side of the dentistry world and know what is out there, because I kept saying on the event, I'm just used to my little practice in my little town.
We're little country bumpkins.
Yeah, and that's all I know. Like, getting the train to London was one thing, but actually sitting on a panel with, gosh, these people that was sat next to me, I was like, wow, this is insane. It was just really interesting to see that side of it. And it's just even that, like, if I can do that, I don't care about doing anything. I know it sounds so silly, but like stuff that I'd get worked up for before, like I don't know if I was to go somewhere on my own, like go shopping on my own, like be like, oh, I don't know. But now I'm just like, yeah, no, that's fine. I've been there, I've done that. I can do anything now.
We were also super proud of you. Like I know when Fiona said was that a newly qualified dental nurse that she could borrow, and I was like, yeah. But honestly, just so proud that for somebody that travelling on their own from our little country bumpkin practice in Gloucestershire all the way to London, and to sit with a panel of people that were there, and to have you there as a dental nurse, to have your voice heard, it's huge. Like for us as a practice, it's huge. For me, it's like your friend, it's like massive. And just and you know, and for the society, like it's amazing. We were all so proud, and I know the feedback that we got from you was just like brilliant. So just to know that nurses, we do have a voice, and what we have to say is important. Like, and you know, Roxy's only been qualified a couple of years, and just to have her voice heard for you up and coming now, it's such a special thing. And it's just a small dip in the ocean of what the SBDN represent, and the things that we're striving for in our in this community. It's absolutely huge. So if you're not a member yet, or don't know a lot about what we do check out our socials, the Society of British Dental Nurses. We are on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We are obviously now have the podcast, and we're also now, for you young ones, we're coming to TikTok and YouTube. So we are out there. So please, anybody, reach out. Like, we'd love to hear your journeys into dental nursing. If there's any advice you need, just please do reach out with the phone stories. We'd love to hear anything about it. So please do get in contact. So Roxy, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being our first guest on Shining the Spotlight. Really enjoyed that. And we hope you all did too. And if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe to Apple Podcasts, if this is where you're listening, or Spotify. And now we're hopefully going to be live on YouTube as well. Please do like and subscribe, and send us a comment. Your feedback does really mean a lot. And we look forward to seeing and reading it. So from myself and Roxy, we'd like to bid you all a pleasant day. And myself and Tegan will be back with a podcast in a couple of weeks. So we look forward to catching up with each other, what we've been doing, and what you've all been up to too. And we'll see you all soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.